What's going on, everyone? My name is Johnny Bandon and I'm your CCNA instructor for this CCNA video series. And in this video, if you're following our videos in order, we finally got our WLC set up and now we're going to actually deploy our wireless LAN or create a new wireless LAN, probably for like VLAN 30, and we're going to do complete setup. So the first thing we're going to go over is kind of our steps. So the first thing we're going to verify is that the access point and the wireless LAN controller are talking. So essentially making sure that their access point that we have connected actually join the wireless LAN controller and it has those CAP/WAP connections. And then we're going to name the AP and set the AP mode. So this is just something that if we want, we can change the access point name. We can set the kind of mode it's doing, so local, flex connect, right? And then we're going to build that logical interface for VLAN 30 on the wireless LAN controller. So VLAN 30 logical interface, very similar to like an SVI. And then we're going to go ahead and once that interface is created, now we can actually create the wireless LAN associated with that logical interface, create the new SSID for users to connect to, and then boom, we're done. And then we're also going to go over like how to set security and QoS. Sorry, I promised I'd be a better handwriter. So we're going to go over how to set security, not going into the actual security profiles, but where we would go to set security on the new wireless LAN we just created in that actual wireless LAN profile, which again is just going to be for VLAN 30. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So the first thing we're going to do is create that logical interface. Now before we do that, let's actually just jump in to our wireless LAN controller and make sure that our access point's actually talking. So let me bring that up over here on my second monitor before we actually begin, and then I'll bring up the actual GUI. Okay, so I'm logging into my actual access point now, or my wireless LAN controller now. So we're gonna log in, Cisco. And if you're watching these videos in order, you're going to notice some things different. I decided for this demonstration, we're going to use the virtual wireless LAN controller I have in EVE-NG, which I'm also going to use for our labs. And that's because the physical wireless LAN controller I was using for some of the demonstration, it can't connect to the access points I bought offline because I don't have an updated version on the wireless LAN controller. And I didn't want to go buy the licensing from Cisco, especially because it's EOL. So first thing we're going to do here is come to advanced. So this is what a kind of updated wireless LAN controller looks like. It has that initial screen, but if we want to get to the GUI we're used to, this is what we're going to look at. So we can see here that the AP that I do have plugged in, it is up and connected. So if I wanted to actually come here to access points, I can actually see the access points I have here and what like bands they're operating in. So pretty cool. And then the summary also just shows us. We can also come here to detail. And then this is the access point that's connected. You can see its model. So it's a 3800 series access point. It has that K9, which means, hey, we got encryption. You can see it's been up for 7 days. So pretty cool. And now that we've done that, let's go back into our slide. And we're going to go ahead and first, again, create that logical interface. So this is going to be the interface that we need to create for our actual SSID for engineering that's going to be mapped to the VLAN 30. So the way we do that is on our GUI here, we're going to come up to controller. We're going to click that. And then we're going to click interfaces. And then here, this is where we're going to create, disable, and enable different interfaces. So let me bring up the GUI again. So here in our actual GUI, we're going to come to controller. We're going to come to interfaces. And then check this out. So I've already made these VLAN 30 and VLAN 20 interfaces. So if I actually click in them, you can see that I can still make changes. I can change the VLAN identifier. I can change the net mask, the gateway. We go back here. We'll come to interfaces again. If we want to create a new one, like let's say we had a different VLAN, like let's say marketing, this is how we would start it. VLAN 40, and then we'd give it the actual 802.1 tag. So we'll apply. And then the port number. This is if we had a wireless LAN controller with like 8 different ports that we were only using one, like let's say port 7. We'd have to put port 7 here. But instead, we're just using port 0. And then we just have to give it an IP address. So this is going to be an IP address for the logical interface that we're creating on our wireless LAN controller for this subnet that we want to broadcast as an SSID. We got to do just the basic stuff that we've been doing, you know, setting the net mask, the gateway, and then the primary DHCP server. So this is important. So when wireless users connect to our access points and they need to be part of the marketing VLAN, the wireless LAN controller is going to tell them where the DHCP server is. So it's going to say, hey, this is where the primary DHCP server is, 192.168.40.1. So that is important information you need to know so those clients know where to send the DHCP request. And then we're just going to hit apply. So this is saying that any changes to this interface may result in connectivity loss in some clients, but that's okay because no client's connected to this. And then if we come back here, look how it's disabled. So we have to also enable this interface. So we can do that by coming down here. And actually, yeah, we got to come back to interfaces here. So come back to where it started and we type in or hit enable dynamic AP management. Okay, and click OK. This is just saying we're going to have that temporary loss. Come back to interfaces and now we can see that dynamic AP management is enabled. So that's going to be creating the logical interface. So this is step 1 in creating that new SSID for our different subnets. So again, this is just a slide going over it, what we just did. And then now we got to create the new wireless LAN. So now we're actually going to create that wireless LAN network that our users, our Wi-Fi enabled endpoints are going to be able to connect to. So first we're going to click on WLAN up here. We have to disable the default wireless LAN. I'll show you how to do that. And then we're going to create a new one. So we're going to come up here to create new and hit go. And then we're going to give the new wireless LAN a profile name and an SSID. So the profile name is going to come into play later when we start having like mobility groups and setting certain things on profiles. Just for this basic deployment, we don't need to worry about it. We're going to give it a name that administratively makes sense. But what we're worried about here is this SSID. And then here is where we create new. This is also where we can disable other wireless LANs. So let's go ahead and bring up our GUI and jump right into it. So we're going to come here to, again, wireless LANs. You can see right here, I already have the engineer profile made. It's disabled though. So if I wanted to enable it, I'd hit enable selected and hit go. And sometimes, you know, these wireless LAN controllers aren't perfect, especially these virtual ones. So sometimes it just takes a little bit. There we go. Now we're back. But if we want to create a whole new one, we'd come here to create new, hit go. We give it a profile name. We'll just do the sales, right? Sales profile. This is VLAN 20. And then the SSID, we could do sales VLAN 20. And this is what the users are actually going to see. So kind of make it, you know, business and user friendly. You could just say sales, and that would probably be good enough. Administratively for you, obviously it's going to make sense to have that 20 on the end. But again, kind of just up to like management and stuff like that, or your standard naming conventions. Okay, and then we're going to want to also, let's actually just wait to enable it. And what we're going to do now is go through more configuration for it. So now we're going to actually click into the wireless LAN, and now we're going to set up the general policies, and this is where we're going to go over security and QoS. So what you're going to do here is click in, and then we can enable it. We can set the radio policy. So maybe we just want them to use 802.11g only. Don't know why. And then you see here, we have to associate it with that sales VLAN 20. And then we want to broadcast that SSID. Yes, we do. And then if we wanted to set up security, we can here. If we want to set up QoS, we could here. So really, this is where we're going to do all like the advanced configuration for our actual wireless LAN network. And it's really, I mean, it's that simple, guys. You know, now we're done. Now, you know, if I want to know security, put none up here. But this is it. We just created a wireless LAN. We're going to hit apply. And again, just give it a few seconds. You know, it's not the strongest. And look at this. Now we have that wireless LAN sales profile. Now we come back here to monitor. Come here to summary. If we had clients that actually went and connected, we could actually see them down here in the clients. It says no clients found, and that's okay. But that's pretty much it. If we come back to our slide, without going into anything more deep, right? Like layer 2, layer 3 roaming, any mobility groups, this is how you set everything up. Later on in some like bonus videos, I'll actually show you how to set, we'll go over like requirements, like set up fast transition pre-shared keys. And I'll show you how to do that in this wireless LAN. Because I hear on the test that they actually go over some like QoS and layer 2 and 3 security configuration. So it is important. But just for this basic demonstration, this is good enough, right? Again, you just gotta be patient with this sometimes, a little slow. But like I said, yeah, like I guess on the test sometimes they go over this stuff. Protected management frames, the WPA2 policy, what encryption we're gonna use. If we're gonna do fast transition versus just no fast transition, which has to do with roaming. But that's pretty much it, guys, for setting up a new wireless LAN. So I want to thank you all for viewing, and stay tuned for our next video. We're going to go over the actual lab, and it's going to be a little different from our normal labs where you, the user, can download our EVE-NG lab profiles and execute. This one's a little different because you need specific setup, which I have running at my house. If you wanted to emulate that, you definitely could and copy, but it isn't going to just be as easy as some of our other labs to emulate. And you'll see what I'm saying when we go over the labs. So I want to thank you all for viewing. And again, stay tuned for our next lecture going over the actual Wi-Fi lab.